My name is Bernardo Sim, and I'm a writer for Out Magazine. Today, I will be catching up with Adore Delano. So let's get started.
Yeah,
Adore, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really great. I got my coffee. I'm watching Drag Race Philippines. I'm crying my eyes out. I love it.
Yeah,
How are
it's
you?
amazing. I'm doing great, thank you. I was catching up on Drag Race Mexico, but I'm all caught up right now, and
I
the
gotta
queens are
catch. I,
slaying.
I gotta catch it. My friend Dolores is obsessed. She said that I would love it. It's like if you love Philippines, you're gonna like gag over Mexico. So I'm excited to
Yeah,
catch that.
yeah. So I wanted to talk to you. You recently disclosed in a video that you were trans and shared the journey that you've been going through, not only going through recently, but since the Idol days, since the Drag Race days. How's that journey going so far?
It's going good. A lot of self-discovery. I'm in a place where I'm surrounded by like unsaid mentors, like they're my mentors without really being like my best friends. And yeah, it's a space in my life right now where I really have to kind of be selfish and kind of allow myself to bloom and feel because I'm also sober on top of everything. um on top of taking estrogen, so there's a lot of feels going on. So it's a beauty talking about it in therapy. Let's just say that.
Well, therapy helps. I'm glad you are in therapy to help with that. Um,
Mhm.
you mentioned that you went through different phases in your life where you basically were already living as a trans woman.
Mhm.
Think you say in the video that before American Idol, actually, you were just living as trans, and American Idol just kind of shoved that down. Um, what made you feel like this time is the right time to go through with it and to announce it publicly?
My third decade of life, in my third year of the third decade of life, I'm really big on numerology. I lived my life, in three different phases and trying to see how that would work for me. I always like try to explain it as like painting with acrylics and watercolor. Like some of them are more opaque than others, and I just kind of like I'm like, look, I know like painting with acrylics takes longer to dry, but you get a better result, and then you kind of see more of the detail of the kind of story that you want to tell. So I guess that's kind of like how I can metaphorically explain that. But also just, I had to really buckle down and figure out like why I was drinking every day, why I was smoking weed every day. These feelings happened because I initially got sober, like I said in my video, 2 years ago, and then I fell off the wagon again when I started touring a lot, because I didn't want to deal with like feelings and stuff. But I find it really enlightening that like now I can, like I was just talking to my best friend Kara Cunningham, and I'm like, there's such a difference now because I go into the hotels after the show and I do like a front flip on the bed and I'm like, bitch, I have my own time now. As to before, I was just crying with the bottle, thinking I was a Mexican Amy Winehouse. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't working out for me. So now I'm just like, girl, now feel the feels, get therapy, and treat yourself. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is.
Yeah. It's interesting that you were mentioning that because I was thinking back in preparation to talking to you, and I'm
Hmm.
like, wow, like it's so interesting in hindsight, and perhaps those things were not related at all, but maybe they do have some relationship to what was going on. That there were so many storylines on Drag Race that had to do with you cinching your body, or you would call it the quote unquote hog body. And sometimes the judges would critique you for wearing something off the rack and how you stand firmly on, like, I like, wearing things that a day to day rock star would wear. And I was wondering if, in hindsight, all of the reason why you felt so attacked and hurt by those critiques were because you actually wanted to just dress up that way. You actually had a body dysmorphia, and you were just dealing with that underneath, and none of us knew. So I don't know if perhaps you felt like they weren't attacking your drag, but who you were, perhaps.
Not so much. I think that I'm a very rare Pokemon when it comes to the Drag Race universe. Like I try to like, make my character and it 50-50 because I do try to make my character like a real person, like I was. Like Adore was the everyday punk rock college girl.
Right,
She was very like I wore every day kind of like what I wear now. And like I could do a whole hour set with my band and it's like that
right.
was Adore's essence. So not on the show particularly. That was more of a personal kind of like relationship that I just got off a tour with Michelle. Um, and one of the guest judges said some things that were not aired that I really thought was highly inappropriate.
Hmm.
And I personally, this is no hate. I mean, the producers are like family to me, but I felt like they were prepped to kind of whip me into shape in the first episode because I was one of the most followed girls there and I was very popular. So
The front
I think
runner,
they were,
really. You
yeah, I was. I was. It was
were.
Alaska. It was Alaska and myself. Everybody knew that. So it
Yeah.
was like, I think they were trying to like whip me into shape. Even if you see like because I talked to Rue for 2 hours after that, he was trying to convince me to stay. And I was just like, I can't do it. And he's like, some of these challenges are curated for a lot of the girls and a lot of the lip sync songs and the challenges you are going to excel in. These are meant for you girls. And I said, I'm sorry, but I dipped out this morning when I was flossing my teeth. Like, I'm not going to sit here and like, I cut my album studio time to come here. I initially said no to the offer, and then my management talked me into it. And I felt it the second I walked in. I don't belong in the competitive aspect of hyper feminine female pageant beauty. Like no matter how, you can look at a Got Mick even, like no matter how edgy you are, they still want that hyper feminine silhouetted. And I could do that now, but it's like I also don't want to like spend tens of thousands of dollars on outfits. So it's like my thing is just like I wasn't feeling the hyper feminine silhouetted vibe. It didn't really have a lot to do with my dysphoria. I think it had more to do with a personal a personal debt that I had that I was just like, we have to talk about this before we start filming anymore. But yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
and you were just the first contestant, I think, to bring up a point that now many queens bring up. So it was actually you were a pioneer in that sense to call out those standards that are pushed on the show. I do remember, not that we're going to make this about Drag Race,
It's
but
okay. That's my
I
part
just
of my
have
legacy.
I have a follow-up question that I think you were supposed to compete in All Star 6, but your variety talent show number was not cleared. But is All Star something you consider nowadays, or was that All Star 6 and then it didn't happen and it's off the table now?
I mean, I would lie if I said that like it doesn't like come up on the table of conversation because I it took me a long time to come around in full circle to become an actual fan again of the show because I know these girls, I work with these girls every weekend. So it's like I love to see them in competition aspects and stuff. And low key, I think I'd mop 80% of them. But like, but like, but like, I'm just kind of like in a different headspace of like. I would have to be fully realized as a person to be in that position. I do have a beautiful relationship with the producers and creators of the show. We're like family. They always say the invitation's open when you're ready. The door's there. So when they did approach me for All Star 6, um, we were kind of ready to go, and I wasn't budging on my talent. I said I've been spitting fire since high school. Like this is something I really wanted to do. I had my producer come up with like a metal track to "I Look Fucking Cool." It was gonna be like this whole thing of like breaking fake beer bottles over my head. It was gonna be super rock star, and
Oh
they were
God.
just like. They were like, "Do you have anything else? Like, do you think that you can come and sing one of your own tracks?" I said, "Absolutely not." I was like, "I'm not going to be on there being judged by a song that I wrote and produced myself again. I'll show you my hyper version of drag." Like, so they were just like, it's just cutting it so close the door. Like, we're about to film in 2 weeks. And I said, well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to do it, dude. Like, get somebody else, bro. Like, I'll watch it. And listen, Kylie was meant to be there and deserved her flowers exactly where she needed to be. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did because I don't think I would have. It probably would have been a bitchin' ass show, but I think it just all worked out how it was supposed to be.
Yeah, so I guess I'm gathering it's not completely off the table, but it's not something you would do soon.
Yeah, that part. I think when I'm like ready to do it, I think like I don't know. I just feel like right now, like I'm so focused on just like, maintaining my fan base and like I'm one of the girls and I was just talking to Ben last night, Ben de la Creme, about just like how lucky we are to come off of a season that we can have like a decade later. I can like fucking, sell out fucking the Henry Fonda Theater or like, some dope ass Live Nation tour or whatever. And it's like I haven't been on that show in a minute, but these kids really grow up with me. So I don't wanna lose that. I wanna keep nourishing that and just be authentic to my music is really important to me and acting. So I want to do more with that. I feel like there's more to do outside of the show before we start co-signing that onto my Wikipedia again. I'm like, oh
um,
God.
Speaking of your fans, very devoted fans, I felt like it was interesting that in your video disclosing that you were transitioning, you really were speaking to the fans, and it seemed like you were a little concerned about how your fans would react. What was that concern coming from or about?
The concern comes from being on TV since I was 16. Like the first time I was ever in front of a camera, I was 15, but like aired like 16. I have these emotional scars from votefortheworst.com on American Idol calling me the T slur and that being so prevalently used. It was like something that was used on television to identify me on Comedy Central. It was like something that like I was really afraid to have like because I do have a lot of older fans that do come to my shows that have followed me from Idol, like older women, their husbands, like I can name them by name. Like so it's like I was more speaking in fear to that part. And I talk about it in therapy a lot. It's just basically like let the flies fall on the windowsill, the butterflies will come. Like whoever's gonna follow you is gonna follow you for who you are. You don't want somebody to follow you for like a veneer that you're giving on, or else you're setting yourself up for disaster. I always tell David Archuleta and I are really close. I remember when we were kids, because mind you, I'm only like a year older than him, so we were
Yeah,
babies. So like I would tell him, the more perfect you act, the harder you fall. Like you have to be authentic to who you are because people will figure it out. Audiences sniff that out. So I really wanted to put my heart on the line, but I was speaking more to the older fans because I know that they love the binary between Danny and Adore and they like the evolution of that. And it's like I'm the same bitch, like Lady Gaga, Stephanie and Gaga. She's people ain't on the street calling her by her government name. Like it is what it is, girl.
absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting that you brought up David Archuleta. I did also interview David after he came out, and I'm starting to wonder if there's. I mean, we've always known that American Idol had problematic things about it in those early seasons, in particular, but how you now transitioning and David coming out and like this long lasting impact that the standards of that show placed on it on their contestants, and maybe there's something to re-examine there, how that came to be.
Oh, completely. They were highly problematic. Like highly problematic. Like if I even repeated to you what they told my 17-year-old self, I now that would not fly. Like HR would jump on that shit. Like there would be some like if I ever write a book, there will be a whole chapter about that because I look at myself and I'm like I feel so sad for that kid, not because of the way I was dressing or presenting, just because what was in my like what they were telling me backstage, what they were like. And I didn't even make it that far, dude. Like, can you imagine if I made it to like, the spot where Archuleta made it? That would be insane. Like, I wouldn't know how to act for years. But David and I talk about that a lot, like just about like the expectations of like the American dream
Yeah.
and how the concept of that whole bubble has changed now. And I always try to pep talk him into like I'm like, that's okay. It's changed now. You're gonna be so surprised when people find out who you really are. You're gonna gain times 10 because you
Yeah.
are exuding happiness. Like I'm so proud of him. I can literally like punch a wall and cry. Like I love that kid so much. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And despite those concerns, at least from where I'm standing, it seems like the reaction to your video was 1000% positive, loving, supportive. What was your experience seeing the fans respond to your video coming out?
What was my experience?
Yeah.
Listen, listen, I was talking about it to a lot of the girls last night because they were like coming up to me, talking to me about it. But like, I put it out there and I just left it. I don't read I try not to read the comments. The only ones that I read were like on TikTok from like girls that like I have mutuals with that are like at the top comments. I will not search the comments because it just takes one of them to like unleash this beast of just like negativity in my head. I'm not completely there with like, being 100% okay with what people say about me. And I think that's just like a human trait of an artist in general, depending like, I mean, it doesn't matter like if you're a writer, a musician or an actor or anything. It's just you are hypersensitive of the things that mean a lot to you that you give to the world. So I just didn't really want to pay too much attention to it, but I do see that it's overwhelmingly positive and I'm still trying to figure out how to accept that. I'm in therapy with that a lot. My therapist is like, girl, I told you. And I'm just like, look, I wanted to tell them because I know I'm going to start looking different after surgery and stuff. And I don't want them to be like, Pete Burns? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? So it's just like, I want to be transparent enough, no pun intended. Um, to just like I want them to feel, you know, the shallow end temperature of the water before we start swimming. Like I want them to get it. I want them to be in there with me. And the ones, like I said, that don't want it will fall, and it's okay. That's cool. Cool with me.
That's okay. Yeah, that is okay. You mentioned that you think that right now is the right time because you know it's your third decade in the world and your first year in your third decade. But I wonder if any external factors played a role in giving you the confidence to you know go through your transition right now. If any celebrities, TV shows, books, friends, mentors, people that you saw in the media made you feel like, all right, maybe there is room now for me to go through with this and continue to be a musician and a celebrity superstar.
I would say honestly, the fans, dude. Like I see how authentic that they live. I mean, I have a huge I predominantly, not predominant, but most of my fan base are like lesbians and trans kids. Like, it's like, that's like who I speak to, I guess, like in the arms of the angels. But it's just seeing the younger ones be so, comfortable with themselves. Like, I even see like a Hunter Schafer, like, modeling for Mugler. And I'm just like, so like, wow, like, what are you waiting for? Like, what are you hiding for? Like, these girls are really like, we talk about, of course, the people that have paved the way for us, but also the young ones that are carrying the backbone for us right now and speaking up to change the world for Gen Alpha. Like, it's like, these are things that we're going to remember and go down in history of being like, that was the trajectory of when everything kind of flipped upside down and it was okay to be this, that, or anything in between. And sometimes like you don't have to be like a conventionally like beautiful woman or a beautiful man. It's like you just have to wake up in the morning and be okay with being your beauty and yourself and being okay with what you see in the mirror. And if not, tweak it a little bit. If you got the money, fuck it. Like I work my ass off, bro. Like it's like I pay my taxes. Like I'm over here like, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? Like,
Right.
show them that example that they're showing you. Like, they're calling you fucking mom and meet and greets, and you're over here getting inspiration from them. Let's make this a family reunion, bitch. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on?
You also
Yeah.
mentioned in the video that you feel like you're going through puberty again, which is a very common experience when people are transitioning. Adore, how is puberty going?
It's crazy. I don't know if like I use that word. It felt like that definitely the first like I'm only on my third month. I'm like a month and a half. But
Yeah.
like now I'm just super reclusive and I'm okay with that. I love being alone. I'm not lonely. Like I love these are new feelings that I'm feeling and I'm already like a Tiona. Like I grab everything. So it's like when like I talk to my therapist or like my friends that are of trans experience, they're like, "But do you find that you're more emotional?" And I'm like, "Bitch, it feels the same because I'm always crying." But like, yeah, I'm more logical. Like I'm thinking more level-headed, and I think I owe that more to sobriety. I can't say that enough on how that saved my life. Just even if I'm sad, like I get over it. Like I figure out, I find the root of the problem. It probably will never go away, but it's still there. And I embrace the darkness a little bit more. And there's an outlet for that. It's called my art. It's called my music. I love writing emo music and hopefully it can touch another little bitch. And if it doesn't, then we have to move on from that. We can't sulk in a bottle because that's what I was doing, and it was a snake eating its own tail, and I just was getting nowhere with it. And now it's just like I was even talking to my brother. I was with my brother; they're so supportive. But like my brother was like, "I just see such like a difference in you, like when you're sober." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's like the Wizard of Oz, like cape just kind of like reveals itself. You know, the curtain like goes away, and you're like, oh shit, I had the power all along."
That is
Yeah.
powerful and very true. I also wanted to talk about your music, so that's a good segue because your last album, whatever, was released in 2017, and your last EP, Dirty Laundry, was 2 years ago. You've always been a musician first and foremost. I think you were one of the few drag race queens that was considered beyond just a contestant on this show, but an actual musician. I still remember being on Twitter when your music was on Billboard, and that was the first time that happened, and we were all freaking out of happiness for that happening to adore the girl that we love on Drag Race on Billboard. That's
Wow.
crazy. And your music was charting. What's your relationship right now with music? Are you kind of pausing on that because you're focusing on transitioning? Are you doing both at the same time? What's your relationship with that?
But all of the above music always lives in me. Like whether it's poetry and I add like a melodic vibe to it, like I'm constantly voice recording the stuff that comes out of me in the middle of the night. Like I call it the Lady Gaga effect. Like I'll be sleeping and then have to grab my phone real quick because I'll forget it. So it's like I do have a time right now where I'm not recording. I have to like really live the experience out, like Lauren Hill said. Like I'm not gonna give like a an album that has no lived experience in it, or else it'll just be empty music. Like you have to
Right.
really live and fulfill that and make it feel whole and heavy. So the plans are just like I'm gonna be doing my surgery in November and then I'm doing like a writer's retreat and then we're gonna head into the studio next year and just like start on the new stuff. But I really have to be in the headspace because then I start going crazy and I'm very like indecisive. I'm like, oh, should I release this? Oh my God. Oh yeah.
Well, I think the path that you're on and the fact that we're calling it puberty, those can be very creative times to at least for songwriting. So I'm very excited to see what songs you're gonna be writing in the next few months, even if you can't record them right away.
Got some cool shit. I have like over 20 like unreleased demos that like I have like 8 that I'm obsessed with, but I want to write some new shit that like now that I'm in like a new era. If I do come out with a new record, I do want to put like a few of those songs, like record those songs in there because they're really, really good songs. But but yeah, I'm never gonna stop doing that, you know? We want to head into acting and stuff, but the music will always be inside of me. Like that's something I'll die with.
Yeah. And speaking of music, what are some references that in music that you're being inspired by at the moment? Maybe things that were not always there. Are you listening to new artists? Are you listening to new music, new genres?
I mean, Kim Petras, I just pointed her out as soon as I popped up on here. Like we're doing a tribute show at Oasis in San Francisco to her. But I mean, I love her. I think she's such a trailblazer. I mean, the artist Ray, that's her name, right?
Right.
Like I love Ray. I love a lot of like UK kind of like R&B inspired pop like vibes. They just have a different swag. Charlie XCX is dope. Um, yeah, but I'm listening to everything. I still listen to my 90s bops too, though. Like TLC will never get old to me. Like those are more style icons for me. But yeah, Britney lives in my heart, but I do embrace the new artist always.
Yeah. And speaking of going into acting, what do you mean by going into acting? Are you thinking TV? Are you thinking film? Are you thinking theater? We just had Jinx blow New York City away with Chicago. I saw her tour a few weeks ago. Everything's Stake, just conquering the world. So what are your intentions or desires with acting?
The acting, the goals are to go into TV and film. It's kind of a hard position right now, just with the writer's strike, which I'm
Yeah.
totally like in solidarity with. Like, I totally like want to wait till that blows over until justice is served, of course. But in the meantime, like, I'm going to be taking acting classes, and more improv classes, which I used to take in my teen years, but I just want to revisit that and just kind of open a whole new kind of door to something that challenges myself. I find touring to be a bit too easy for me right now. I love it to death, but it's just something that I'm really good at performing like with a band and stuff and touring like I'm built for it. But I want to be challenged. I want to do something that scares me. I think that's the only way that you can grow, says Drew Barrymore in her Wildflower book. Um, but but yeah, the goal is to do like I would love to do some independent films, preferably some horror. I love like drama. Like I just really want to I want to sharpen my acting tools. I'm pretty bitching at acting, but I really want to sharpen that shit up so I can start nailing these auditions. I did so many auditions that I never get, and I'm like, damn. And then I see somebody get it, I'm like, okay, I get what they're looking for, but I'm gonna make it to where they can't deny me.
Yeah, and it's just the start of a new career path. And I really just think for someone that is so used to touring and that is dipping their toes into acting, that maybe Broadway would be a great combination of those things for you specifically as a singer who's also acting and is so used to the schedule of tours that can be somewhat similar to theater. And it would be very exciting to see you on in New York City on stage. Do you have any Broadway musicals that you would like to do?
No. This is the thing. Like I'm not like a big Broadway kid. I've auditioned for two Broadway shows that went really well, but my personal experience with them were that it was just so
Not your vibe.
cutthroat and just
Yeah.
it's just my vibe. Like they could smell the West Coast on me. I'm like a natural pothead, so it's like I'm very like if I don't think that I'm not, if I'm in an audition, like I'll be like, why is it written like this? Or like I'll be like, I don't know how to say this, or like, and they're just like, girl, and then I end up getting called back because of like the charm or some shit. But I'm just like, it's just too, I don't know. I'm not opposed to it. Like if the right show came up, like I love Headway, but like I'm talking like I don't know. But yeah, you're right. I'm built for that type of schedule. Like I'm a workhorse, dude. Like
Right.
I'm like, what time? 3 hours of sleep, I'm good.
I'm just a Broadway person, and we saw such success with Jinx recently that I just had to ask that question. So, is it safe to say you are working towards a new album next year, or just new singles? What is kind of the schedule?
Yeah, it's 50-50 right now. So initially we wanted to do a new record. Like I wanted to do a new album, like the fourth album. Um, but it's so time consuming. I really want to stop putting deadlines on myself when I put my personal life on the back burner. But yeah, there's a lot of catching up to do when you get sober. So I just kind of want to like I want to make up for all the times where I just kind of like was in purgatory. But also, what makes me happy is like I love being in the studio. Like that's heaven to me. So most likely a new record, but I really at the least, I want to bang out some dope summer bangers. But I'm working towards a new record next year for sure. That's what that's what my blood says. So I'm gonna take that challenge on.
Yeah, I would be excited to hear that. And as
Mm.
far as your personal life goes, what are the next steps that you're focused on right now?
Right now, I'm just focused on yeah, I'm doing like I'm getting surgeries in November, and then my mom's coming out to like just take care of me and stuff. Just to just like go into the new year like feeling more confident and like euphoric about just like stuff. There's a lot of legalities that come with it too, like just with like name change and stuff like that. But it's like yeah, like just I have to really give myself some time to get um the personals done because I can just work every day and like I just go to sleep for 3 days when I come home. And it's like, God damn it. But yeah, just a lot of my personal stuff at the even like when I'm trying to do my personal stuff, I'm still working a lot. Like right before my surgery, like I'm landing from Australia and then I have like 8 days when I go to surgery. And it's like, Jesus! Like, but it's like I feel blessed, but still like I have to give myself the time to recover after that. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking as one of your fans, and a fan of Drag Race, of course, anytime we hear Adore and Drag Race or All Stars in the same sentence, we're all shaking. And new music from Adore, we're always excited. But I do enjoy that you even started this interview saying this is a more selfish time for myself because I do think
Yeah.
that's the right course of action to just take this time and really take your time to just feel good and do whatever next steps you want to do. And when you come back, we'll all be waiting for new content, but it can take a little bit of time, and that's okay.
Yeah, when you're shaping yourself into something that you're supposed to be, it's easily influenced by being around like parties or around other way of people thinking or like people that had the other idea of who you were or like it's like you have to take I always say that to kids when they're like, "Oh, I'm starting my transition or whatever." I'm like, "So am I." But what I've learned from having my friends, like what they have even told me is like you have to be selfish in the beginning because you have to break the idea of what you were. You're still the same person, but you have to recalibrate. You have to really reset it and etch and sketch it and keep those relationships, but you can't have them shape the new thing that you're becoming inside, or else you just kind of stay stagnant, especially in sobriety. I keep saying it, but it's not just the
Yeah.
estrogen. The sobriety is like, girl, protect your peace, protect your energy. Like, it's okay if you come up like a bitch whatever, they'll get it. Like,
Yeah, going through sobriety, there's so many hormones and brain hormones that are changing and transitioning, also hormones, and it's just probably a complex uh, time. And like I said, might be good for songwriting, but yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
oh, it's gonna be dope for writing, dude. Trust me. I come up with some crazy shit, especially if I get sad for an hour. Oh, it's over.
Yeah, as a writer, I can attest to that. It's a great time for writing.
Great give me tragedy, and I will make a fucking bomb. What's your sign?
I'm a Libra.
Are you in Libra? October or September?
October 15th.
Oh, my mom's the 7th. My dad's the 11th. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of
I'm
friends
between.
too. I can very much relate to that one catchphrase. I'm a Libra.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
We're indecisive.
Yeah. Well, Adore, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I'm so excited for what's next and so excited to talk to you about what's going on and catching up. And yeah, I hope we can talk after you're ready to talk again and when you have new things to promote. And yeah, I just hope you have a wonderful day today.
Thank you, my love. Yes, I will be back. I'm like a cockroach. You can't kill me.
Thank you, Adore. Bye.